Press, like, click share and we're on.
That's me, hold on. What? I know, I shut it off, it automatically did it. Noise removal, no.
Are we ready to go? Okay. Evening, everybody. Mayor Randall is unavailable tonight. He's dealing with some family issues. I will be taking over the council agenda tonight, and I'll start with our land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, let us be reminded the community in which we live, work, and play is situated on traditional, unceded Algonquin First Nation territory. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Anishinaabe people and express our respect and support for the rich history and culture. Could I have a call to order, please?
All members, with the exception of Mayor Randall, are present.
Thank you. The approval of the agenda, recommended motion, the agenda be approved as presented. A mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Hinton. Any discussion? All in favor? That's passed. Thank you. Any disclosures or conflicts? Linda.
Yes, I have bylaw number 7, number 1, as my son's own property, and it's all about strategic properties. Thank you.
Okay, noted. Thank you. Any clarification? Is that okay, Stacey? Good. Okay. And the approval of the minutes. Council minutes, recommended motion that the council minutes dated November 4th, 2025 be accepted as presented. A mover and seconder, Councillor Comley, Councillor Kavanaugh. Any discussion? All in favor? And carried. Consent report. Recommended motion that council receive the consent report dated November 25th, 2025. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Hinton, Councillor Atkinson. Any discussion about the consent report? I don't see any. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to bylaws. Bylaw number 1. Bylaw number 86-2025 to amend development permit bylaw 15-2015 strategic properties. The recommended motion is bylaw 86-2025 to amend development permit bylaw 15-2015 strategic properties be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Comley, Councillor Kavanaugh. Any discussion? Already discussed it. All in favor? And that's carried. Number 2, bylaw number 87-2025 to amend parking and traffic bylaw 46-2003 Neelan Street. Recommended motion that bylaw 87-2025 to amend parking and traffic bylaw 46-2003 Neelan Street be read a first, second, and third time and finally pass. Any mover and seconder, please. Councillor Sakaspina, Councillor Hinton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Announcements. Hold on a second. So this is prepared in advance and I took over last second, so I'm not sure if there's anything written about this announcement or not. I'll read the announcement, but if there are any prepared notes, I apologize, I don't have them. November 25th, 2025 is 16 days of activism ending digital violence against women and girls. And I'll open the floor to any other announcements if anybody has any. Councillor Sakaspina.
Okay, I just have 2. I just want to remind people about the Christmas Basket Fund. You can e-transfer at cpchristmasbasket@gmail.com, or you can go to their Facebook website, or you can email me and I will give you the procedures. And the angel trees are everywhere. Walmart, Heritage Fitness, Township's Office for Beckwith, CIBC, CP Nursery, Mitchell's Independent, Apple Cheek, Scotia Banks, GT, and Houle Healthware. Thank you.
Well, that's everywhere. Any other announcements? Councillor Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Just a reminder that this Saturday is the Carleton Place Santa Claus Parade. It starts at 5 p.m. and departs from CPHS, following the same route as it did last year, ending at Carenbeck. A reminder that the Civitan will be collecting non-perishable food items for the food bank along the route, as well as monetary donations for either the food bank or the Christmas basket. And the Canada Post elves will be walking along collecting any last minute letters to Santa, so have those handy. Make sure to keep an eye out for the downtown Carleton Place BIA float, as they'll be handing out the wish book again this year with lots of treasures and games for the kids. Also, December 6th is Take a Picture with Santa and Mrs. Claus at the Info Center from 12:30 to 3. This is a free event sponsored by the Carleton Place Downtown Business Improvement Area. Sorry, tongue twister. But bring your own camera or phone to take a picture. And so, yeah, that should get us all in the festive holiday mood.
Thank you very much. That parade is something we do really, really well. It is huge and it is busy. And I've always struggled every year we're on a float. I'm always trying to capture with a camera how many people we see throughout the whole route. And it's really, there's so many people that attend this thing. It's done really, really well. If you haven't seen it, come on out. Any other announcements? No more? Okay. Moving on. Confirmatory bylaw. Bylaw number 88-2025. I'm going to go straight to recommended motion that bylaw 88-2025, confirmation of council proceedings for November 25th, 2025 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Atkinson, Councillor Conley. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Last motion is adjournment. Recommended motion the meeting be adjourned at 6:09 p.m. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Hinton, Councillor Kavanaugh. All in favor? Thank you very much. Moving on to Committee of the Whole.
Good evening. We are now moving on to the Committee of the Whole for November 25th, 2025. Call to order. I will now call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 6:10 p.m. Approval of agenda. The suggested motion is that the agenda be approved as presented. Need a mover and seconder. Councillor Comley, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. Any discussions? All in favor? Opposed? None. That motion is carried. Declaration of pecuniary conflict of interest and general nature thereof can be made now or at any time during the meeting. Is there any conflicts of interest this evening? See none. Minutes to be approved and received. The suggested motion is that the Committee of the Whole minutes dated November 4th, 13th, and 20th, 2025 be accepted as presented. Moved by Councillor Atkinson, second by Councillor Sekaspina. Any discussions? See none. All in favor? Opposed? See none. And that motion has carried. And we are on to delegations. We have one delegation this evening, Mr. Joel Wiebe, Senior Advisor, Community Relations with Alto, giving us a report this evening. Mr. Wiebe, just so you know, you have about 10 minutes. And if there's any questions after, we'll open up the council.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So yes, I'm Joel Wiebe and I'm a Senior Advisor of Community Relations with Alto. And thank you so much for hosting me for this meeting. I'm going to talk a little bit about our high-speed rail project that we're working on. So it's starting with an announcement in February by then Prime Minister Trudeau. Via HFR became Alto, a federal crown corporation that is now mandated to deliver a high-speed rail project that would bring 60% of Canada's population closer together. Yeah. Zeroing in on the specific challenges this project aims to address, Alto's high-speed rail project will help to improve productivity throughout the corridor and surrounding areas by addressing increased travel costs and fuel, vehicle maintenance, and even infrastructure maintenance, alleviating congestion on major highways and in airports, and bringing disconnected communities closer together through convenient mode of transportation that reduces greenhouse gas emissions and improves quality of life through enhanced passenger experience. So the project will run on 1,000 kilometers of dedicated electrified track. Our service will be fast, reliable, and frequent. Reaching speeds of 300 kilometers an hour, we will reduce travel times throughout the Toronto to Quebec City corridor. Given the specific design requirements of this technology, we need new dedicated track for moving people only, which has the benefit of increased reliability to ensure trains arrive on time and bring you where you need to go when you expect it. We're targeting frequent departures with 20 to 30 trains daily that enable convenient options and can accommodate a flexible travel schedule. So here you can see the 7 station locations. So we've got Toronto, Peterborough, Ottawa, Laval, Montreal, Trois-Rivières, and Quebec City. We don't have an alignment yet. What you see is just the station areas. In the coming months, we'll share corridor concepts within which we will have the rail alignment, refining down to a specific route using technical analysis that includes safety, design, environment, and social considerations. And we've got our estimated travel times. So we're looking at Ottawa to downtown Toronto in about 2 hours, or being able to go from Toronto to Montreal in 3, and significantly shortening how people get around. So for some, this will mean that they can commute to cities that they might not have ever considered before. And as far as from an economic perspective, high-speed rail is projected to contribute to an increase of 1.1% of Canada's GDP, or about $24 billion annually through increased productivity, with cities being brought closer together, higher participation in the workforce, and increased tourism. There are several other meaningful outcomes from this project, including meaningful contribution toward reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, with whom Alto has been engaging for several years now, an increase in rail travel adoption, resulting in safer travel between cities, reduced environmental impacts with fewer cars on the road, and an enhanced passenger experience in the corridor means you can multitask or just enjoy the trip while you travel. The project will also strengthen Canada's economy by sourcing goods and services right here. We'll need substantial volumes of steel, aluminum, and concrete for our track, trains, buildings, overpasses, and related infrastructure. We're also going to need the people to build it. We expect this project to generate about 50,000 jobs. Alto is not doing this work alone. In 2023, Transport Canada launched a rigorous RFP process to identify a project partner. The process closed in February of this year when the Prime Minister announced that Alto would work with Cadence, which is a consortium of rail infrastructure companies based in Canada and France, with expertise in delivering transportation and high-speed rail projects on a global scale. So here you can see where we're at in the development phase. Over the next 4 years, we'll identify the corridor and exact alignment, select station locations, complete the regulatory process, acquire land, and finalize the engineering design. At the end of this development phase in 4 years, Alto and Cadence will present the cost and timeline of a shovel-ready project for federal approval, at which time we expect to start construction. Being in the development phase means we are engaging stakeholders, including local organizations and elected officials, consulting Indigenous communities and facilitating their participation in the project, and establishing a corridor. We're aware that not all communities see themselves in this project, especially those who are not supported with one of the 7 station locations. Recognizing this, Alto is in the initial stages of creating a community benefits plan that will create sustained, measurable benefits for impacted communities along the project alignment. The early vision for the program includes a focus on economic opportunities through employment and procurement for local businesses. And over the coming months, Alto will launch a comprehensive engagement process. We'll offer several open houses, virtual information sessions, and an online platform that will focus on educating the public on high-speed rail and give participants an opportunity to share insights that will help inform the project decision-making process. As these dates are confirmed, be posting these the open house schedule, and we'll reach out directly to municipalities so you can inform the public in your area of what we have coming up. Underpinning our engagement here at Alto are principles that ensure that we are open, transparent, and that we reflect local needs across the corridor through respectful communication with an inclusive and collaborative approach. And with that, I want to thank you for having me here. I'd like to emphasize that our priority continues to be on building awareness of the project and sharing information with municipalities throughout the corridor. And I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Mr. Weeb. I'll open up if there's any questions to council, starting with Councillor Sekaspina.
Thank you for this. I'm just inquiring, are you going to build all new rails, or is it going to be, you're going to be using any of CPR's rails?
So two-part answer to that. So these will be dedicated passenger only. So we won't be using any existing lines themselves. There are also a lot of old rail beds, and this question comes up a fair bit about whether we'd be using those. Well, we don't look at freight trains as being particularly nimble. Our high-speed trains take about 7 kilometers to make a turn. And so the old rail beds, they tend to twist and wind through our complicated geography around here, if you will. And so I can't say for sure where we will be putting our lines, but it's not a priority that we would be using those old rail beds, because a lot of places that just, it won't work for what we're building. Yeah. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Tennant.
Yeah, something I've always been curious about with this project is the vast majority of the population is in the west end of this route, GTA. Yet there's 4 stations in Quebec, which I don't even know if they'd add up the population totals to the one in the GTA. Why would they disperse the stations like that? How was that decision made?
I can only speak to part of that. So this is a conversation that's been going on for a number of years as they've looked at the various ridership projections. And I know that this was the model that Transport Canada put in their mandate for us to fulfill these 7 station locations. And so, yes, there's a significant amount of people in the GTA, but there's a lot of those people who are going to school or doing business, whether it's Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City. And so it's the connections, right, that we're bringing major cities in Canada's most populated area closer together.
Councillor Atkinson.
Thank you, Chair. So is the mandate of the corporation simply to deliver the high-speed rail line and service, or is it also, as part of your mandate, also to connect communities like, let's say, Carleton Place to that high-speed line? So there's like a bus or a spur line that would allow us to access it rather than have to, at this point in time, drive into Ottawa or drive to Peterborough to get on a high-speed train to places we already drive to in a couple of hours.
I can appreciate the drive to Peterborough. I'm going back there tonight. No, great question. And so our mandate as a company is to build and operate the rail line, but we also want to be good community partners. And I can't commit to you what all will be involved in the community benefits package, but we will be actively working with all the communities that we're going through to find ways that we want people to access this, right? And so whether and I'm not going to say it's going to be us operating that, but we'll definitely be having conversations with those that do operate services to try and make sure that we can facilitate people to get to our stations as easy as they can. And yeah, that's as good as I can do at the moment.
Any other questions? See none? Thank you very much for the great presentation. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and happy to come back anytime you guys would like an update.
All right, we are moving swiftly on to reports. We have a few of them this evening. We will start off with Quest Canada Net Zero Communities Accelerator Program, Communication 136124. And we have Ross Atkins, Property and Project Manager, to go through that report with us.
Thank you, through the chair. This is an update on the presentation that was made by Quest Canada to the Committee of the Whole back on May 6th of this year. just sort of the basic premise of it is the Partners for Climate Protection program, which basically does climate action planning and all those kinds of things. After the presentation, it was suggested that we provide this same presentation to the Environmental Advisory Committee, which we did back in November 3rd. And we've requested that committee to provide us with some assistance through the program. And they have provided a volunteer to help us with that and to get other volunteers to go through the process. And the gentleman's name is Michael Topus. So this is basically just an update on that. The cost to this is $3,000, which will be covered by Enbridge Gas. And I'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ross. And we'll start with questions with Councillor Atkinson.
Not a question, more of a comment. I'm glad to see that this project is moving forward. I'm also glad that I'm not the volunteer from the Environmental Advisory Committee, as I had suspected I might have been. So I'm glad the committee was able to come in and offer help on this project. Looking forward to being part of it.
Any other questions or comments? See none, I will read the suggested motion. The council approve proceeding with Quest's Net Zero Communities Accelerator Program as outlined in the report by Property and Project Manager dated November 25th, 2025. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Kavanagh, second by Councillor Atkinson. All in favor? Opposed? None? And that motion has carried. Thanks, Ross. Next, we will be going on to DP 3-01-205 for 450 McNeely Avenue, Phase 2, Communication 136125. And we have Nikki Dwyer, who's going to go through this with us this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I am not Tyler DeVal. Tyler is otherwise occupied tonight, so I'm going to be filling in. Tyler has been working diligently on this file for several months. I would like to say that we have been able to squeak out information about who the much debated tenants will be, but I cannot. I'm sorry. We know nothing. I can confirm in no uncertain terms it is not Costco. So let the record show we are not getting a Costco in this development, or a farm boy, or a farm boy. The proposal in front of you tonight is for the second phase of the construction that SmartCentres is undertaking across from the Winners, which just opened. It's a long linear strip of a building with the option of creating multiple subtenants should they choose, or alternatively, one tenant can take the whole strip. Again, not knowing who the tenants are, I have no idea, but it won't be Costco. The purpose of the application is twofold. One, it's a site plan application, but also there are some requested variances. To go through the variances at a very high level, which Tyler has also evaluated and concluded are appropriate and reasonable. There's a reduction of one requested parking space, but I do note that there are an additional 50 spots coming in future phases of development, if and when those occur. There is a request to reduce the number of loading spaces from 2 loading spaces for this particular building to 1. Based on conversations with SmartCentres, they believe that 1 can achieve the needs of their tenants within this space. There's also a request for a reduction in minimum landscaped buffering width along the arterial road. Because the property line is not square to the road allowance, typically we require a 5-meter linear strip. In this case, it kind of wavers between 12 meters at its widest down to 2.9 meters. Tyler has worked with SmartCentres to develop a robust landscaping plan, and he believes that we're getting more landscape space than we would typically receive if it was just the straight 5 meters. And also, even at 2.9 meters, there's still adequate room for robust landscaping to be planted there. The last variance is the minimum number of queuing spaces before and after a drive-through window. There is a freestanding drive-through building proposed right up at McNeely along the line of these buildings. They did submit a traffic brief that illustrated that typically the amount of impact that you see from queuing occurs prior to the ordering window, and they didn't believe that a loss of space after the ordering window, in accordance with the town standards, was going to create a negative impact, and we have found no reason to dispute that claim. So with that, we are requesting council's support, subject to a development agreement meeting the following conditions. One, that the DP agreement include conditions to satisfy payment for parkland dedication, and two, that they satisfy the payment of cash in lieu of that one lone parking space that they are unable to provide on site. So with that, Mr. Chair, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Nikki. Is there any questions from council? Councillor Sakaspina.
I can deal with the no Farm Boy and the no Costco, but what I can't deal is the deluge of mail I'm going to get. If Winners is here and the parking lot is there, it's going to be the one facing McNeely. Is that the location we're looking at? Excellent. Thank you. Just checking.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Tennant.
Could you reiterate the drive-through scenario for the variance, please?
Thank you. I can, and actually I'll refer council to an illustration in the staff report that's noted as figure 5. So as drawn, right now, the proposal includes 4 queuing spaces between the ordering box and the end of the queuing lane. So you have 4 cars that'll stack up in preparation to order. Then there's 1, I'd argue 2 additional spaces between the ordering box and the pickup window. And then they do not have any additional queuing spaces between the pickup window and where you leave the drive-through aisle. Our standard is to require 1 additional queuing space as you leave. And that's the piece that they've requested relief from. They do have enough queuing spaces between the ordering window and the start of the drive-through. So hopefully that clarifies.
Yeah, it looks like they exit right into the parking lot. There's lots of open space there, and that's fine. The only thing I'd say is just I'd be cognizant of the sight lines when you exit on that, just so we don't have any accidents there. So if they're doing a landscape plan with a big bush there, maybe not.
Thank you. Landscaping has been finalized. There will be no bushes around the drive-through.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? See none. I just have one for you, Nikki, just for anybody who's watching now or watching later. For phase 2, how many total units, including the standalone drive-through?
Thank you. It's hard for us to say for sure. I'd say there are 8 functional units within the long strip plus 1 freestanding unit. However, again, depending on the tenant's needs, a tenant could take 3, 4 of them and combine it into 1. But square footage wise, it functions to have up to 8 in the row.
Great, thank you. If there's no further questions, I will read the suggested motion. It's a long one. That the Committee of the Whole approve application DP 3-01-2025 for the property known as 450 McNeely Avenue, legally described as Beckwith Concession 11, part lots 15 and 16, part road allowance RP 27R9045, parts 1 to 15, 29, part 29, parts 16 to 20, Town of Carleton Place, and that the committee directs staff to issue a development permit in accordance with section 2.24 of Development Permit Bylaw 15-2015, subject to the following conditions. That the development agreement include a condition to satisfy the parkland dedication requirements stipulated in Bylaw 86-2023, and the development agreement include a condition to satisfy the cash in lieu of parking requirements stipulated in Bylaw 74-204. Can I get a mover and seconder on those? Moved by Councillor Sakaspina, seconded by Councillor Comley. All in favor? Opposed? See none, and that motion has carried. Thank you, Nikki. And you're still here. Next up, we have Riverside Park heritage designation, communication 136126. Nikki?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I kind of blew my own thunder on this one. I was really excited to present this report to you, in part because I'm a huge heritage nerd and that's my master's background, but also because this is a really, really interesting project. It's not often that we see cultural heritage landscapes designated in Ontario. So the fact that we have a willingness on council, sorry, stole your thunder too, but also a committee that's really impassioned by it is fantastic news. So council has previously debated as part of the budget discussions, providing money in the 2026 budget to proceed with this. We'll work within the funding envelope. And I believe at this point, the resolution really is just to provide direction to go forward with the next step, which is to have a cultural heritage evaluation report presented and prepared for Riverside Park. So with that, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Nikki. Is there any further questions from budget deliberation? Councillor Sekaspina.
I just have a comment. I'm very proud to be part of this small but mighty group, and I thank Shane and Jason. And I'm so happy to see this land will be protected for years to come and for the memories that is provided to all the families. And thank you, Nikki, for taking this on. And thank you, Andrew, for putting up with my phone calls. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Tennant, I will be calling you with future items.
Yeah, this came out of a budget. This came out of, it was a wastewater meeting last term, and we were mapping out, the park and the wastewater facilities and how that might expand, and we got a little concerned that, our park might get encroached on by future water intake projects, and so we wanted to protect the park, and so we made it clear that we were going to do so, and the committee has stepped up, which is fantastic. I'm really excited about this. It's a really cool idea, and Riverside Park has so much history. I was talking to Linda about this today. We can have so much fun with this. We can be. I talked about. I'd love to do the interviews for oral histories from people who have childhood memories from the park, going back as long as we possibly can. I think there's just a lot of opportunities for us to really enjoy the process and involve a lot of different groups and people. Riverside is the center of this town, so let's have fun with it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Tennant. Any other questions? Councillor Atkinson.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions about the impact of the designation on existing structures on the land. During the budget was sort of the first time that I'd realized this project had been moving forward. Because previously I was concerned with the impact of a heritage designation on our capacity to manage beach infrastructure, if that's included, to renovate and potentially expand the canoe club. At some point in time, it's an aging building. It's going to need some work. The infrastructure beneath it is also aging and will require some work at some point. So I'm curious, it was the scope, and how much this is going to limit future expansion of our water treatment plant. If 20 years from now another expansion is required, we don't have anywhere else to put a water treatment plant in town. And so I'm curious. I'm just wondering if, and as I'm sure others are, what the impact would be on the existing structures that are there and our capacity to work with them going forward. And what's the scope of this in terms of the entirety of the park? Is this just the beach and the area where Canada Day happens? Does this extend all the way down to the boat launch? Just what are we talking about in terms of the scope of the heritage designation?
Thank you. Through the chair, that's a great question. So despite the fact that this is a cultural heritage landscape designation, and it's my understanding that the committee has no interest in impacting potential expansions or usability of the buildings within the park, a designation, regardless of its nature, gets registered on the entire parcel of land as registered under the Ontario Land Registry Office. So included in the attachments to this document, you'll find the parcel identification map of Riverside Park, and you can see just how large it is. It includes everything, including what we would functionally see as the John Street road allowance. That is not a separate road allowance. It is indeed part of the park. Anytime work is completed that may impact the heritage attributes that are identified in the designating bylaw, you have to request a permit from the municipality. We don't charge for that. We may reserve the right to request for a heritage impact statement, which costs money to produce. But for something like this, given it's a municipal project owned by the municipality, and we are the designating authority on this bylaw is not being recognized by any higher level of government through, say, an easement. I would say that it's completely at our discretion or a future council's discretion as to whether or not you waive the requirement for that. Now, that said, you will find in the report that a lot of our projects are subject to provincial and federal funding. As soon as we apply for funding and check the box that say the site is recognized as a heritage site, we may be required to do the full heritage assessment in order to support a grant application. That's not to say that the project's not going to be permitted to proceed. You can certainly do all sorts of work on heritage projects to modify, extend, add new complementary aspects of it, but it is going to add additional cost. Now, the added cost on a project like the water treatment plant is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to the overall capital cost. But it is something that council should be aware is that there may come a day where a project comes forward and staff is required to ask for additional funding to do that study.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? See none, so I will read the suggested motion. That council receive as information the report by Director of Development Services regarding the heritage designation of Riverside Park dated November 25th, 2025, and direct staff to have a cultural heritage evaluation report for Riverside Park completed. I get a mover and seconder on that. Councillor Sekaspina, seconded by Deputy Mayor Tennant. All in favor? Opposed, see none, and that motion is carried. Thank you, Nikki. Moving right along, amendments to social media policy, communication 136127. And we have Amanda joining us this evening, communications coordinator. Amanda?
So, excuse me. Basically, we passed the social media policy. It was about 5 years ago. So it was just kind of time for a review. Unfortunately, this document gets referred to a little bit more often than I would like. We've learned a lot over the past 5 years, just in terms of use, what's already in the document, kind of what we felt should be added just to give staff some clarity on terms of use. Obviously, we want to encourage engagement. You know, two-way engagement between the town and the residents is great, but ensuring that it's done in a respectful manner. So we just kind of reviewed a couple different policies and just made sure that ours was sort of reflective of the current communications climate and how people are using social media.
Thanks, Amanda. Is there any questions or discussions? Deputy Mayor Tennant.
Thanks, Amanda. Gladly support the policy. I would say that I'm just, it's unfortunate that we have to make some of these changes. And this is the culture that has sort of evolved over time over social media. You know, we're not just councillors, but staff, anybody that belongs to the town can't be attacked, you know, on some level. And political discussions are always okay, obviously, but I mean, the red line revisions in all of this are about profanity and about hate and about things that have just sort of crept into what social media has become, particularly since COVID. And it's just unfortunate we have to take these measures, but all media companies are doing this, all municipalities are doing this, all forms of government are doing this because they're trying to protect the people that, you know, belong to their organizations, and they don't want them to be subject to this kind of discussion. So I'll support it. It's too bad we have to do this. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor Tennant. Any other questions or discussions on the matter?
Sorry, Mark, can I just jump in
sorry,
quickly? That's okay. I just wanted to touch on something that Deputy Mayor Tennant said. Like, just to be clear, like, all the red line revisions aren't necessarily about, the protection aspect. We talked a lot about being more inclusive in terms of community groups that we can share information with. So, the scope was a little bit more tight before, whereas now we've kind of opened it up to allow more nonprofit groups that service the community to be able to use CP Scoop to get their message out. So I think that's also, it's not all negative. We're looking at some of the positive aspects of the communication as well.
Thanks for that, Amanda. Any other discussions or questions for Amanda? See none, I will read the suggested motion. That council approve the revised social media policy as amended as outlined in the report by Communications Coordinator dated November 25th, 2025. Can I get a mover and seconder for this? Councillor Comley, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. All in favor? Opposed? See none, and that motion has carried. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, we have a draft multi-year accessibility plan, communication 136128, and that will be presented by Stacy Blair, our clerk, this evening.
So I just have a brief PowerPoint presentation to share. There we go. Okay, so why is technology evading me today? Here we go. Okay, that works. All right, so this is the multi-year accessibility plan for the town of Carleton Place. Just a moment. Okay. I'm not very good at PowerPoint, obviously. All right, well, the purpose of this plan is to make the community more accessible. It is a requirement under the accessibility, the AOTA Act. And our current plan expires this in December. So to prepare for this plan, we did a public survey. The Accessibility Advisory Committee was engaged for this. Senior management has had a chance to review the entire plan in several drafts. The Ministry for Seniors Accessibility was consulted early on in the process, and a draft of, or this copy of the draft has been shared with local and regional community partners, who some of whom have already provided feedback. So what's new in this is that this version has some specific and measurable goals and timelines, has clear departmental accountabilities and defined roles. There's enhanced monitoring, quarterly updates, and which is from staff to me, and annual reporting with a mid-term, which is 2028 council review. There's integration with some of the town's other plans, such as the official plan, the transportation master plan, the recreation master plan. The comprehensive achievement summary is included, which is all the items that we have achieved in terms of accessibility from 2021 through till 2025, and it has a strength and accountability framework. So this plan covers the 5 focus areas of the Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation, which are customer service, information and communications, employment, transportation, and design of public spaces. The strengthened accountability aspect is that I will be overseeing the report, so when people do things that are within the plan, I'm going to be asking them for updates and such. That's the quarterly basis part. The Accessibility Advisory Committee is going to have an expanded role. They will provide guidance, and the quarterly reviews will be supplied to them. In terms of operational departments, they are going to implement their own things in their own areas. Human Resources is going to coordinate with training and tracking. There's, again, the quarterly departmental updates, the annual public status reports, as well as the 2028 comprehensive review. In terms of financial implications, it's nothing too crazy. Some of this you've already covered recently under the budget, such as the WCAG 2.0 consultant, library things, And then as well, one of the things in here is that when we are doing upgrades and things like that is to put the focus on making sure that the accessibility improvements need to be included. As well, this document will help to pursue grant opportunities. Feedback that's been received, there's concerns about making better efforts to maintain accessibility during disruptions. A suggestion was to consider walk audits for barrier identification. Another suggestion was to think of AOTA as a minimum target. Another suggestion was to exceed AOTA minimums where possible, and some compliments were the increased frequency of accessibility training and the thoroughness of the plan. In terms of some highlights of the 2021 through 2025 achievements, the town secured over $542,000 worth in accessibility grants, Bridge Street reconstruction with AOTA compliant sidewalk, accessible benches, multiple new accessible parking spaces throughout the town, multi-use pathways. The library renovations included accessible entrance, automated doors, and an accessible water station. The arena expansion with the upgraded lobby, the professional AOTA assessments of the 9 municipal facilities, and the town's expansion of online services. The next steps include council approval and the public posting of this document on the town's website, departmental briefings on rules, and to establish the quarterly reporting in 2026. In terms, so also 2026, the municipal election, of course, make sure that there's an accessibility plan. By 2027, achieving the WCAG 2.0 compliance on the website. Oh, it's not that bad. 2028 comprehensive midterm review. I know this isn't exciting, but it is important. And 2029 through 2030, continue the implementation and prepare for the next 5-year cycle. So the staff recommendation is that the council approve the 2025 to 2030 multi-year accessibility plan, and that the final plan be posted on the town's website in an accessible format. So that's it for the screen show. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you, Stacy, for a very extensive plan. I know the hours and hours of work that's been put into this coming to present it to council. So in reviewing it, it's really exciting and looking forward to it. I think it is exciting. Absolutely. I will open it up to discussion. We'll start off with Councillor Kavanaugh.
Thanks, Stacy. Not really a question, just really pleased to see a plan come together. I mean, we often have discussions about not just accessibility, but many different things of like, oh, we wish we could do this or do this. And it's nice to see those discussions result in a plan that has a timeline, that has actionability, that has accountability. It feels like all of the goals that we've outlined can be achieved. And so thank you for all the work that went behind it. I'm really excited to see it kind of roll out. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Town.
Yeah, same. Thanks for putting the work in on this, Stacy. This looks great. Couple of things. If anybody's interested to go through this, Schedule C is our list of achievements that we've done recently. And I'm really happy about it. Like we've made a lot of forward movement on accessibility in the last few years, and I think we should be very proud of that. And one of the other things I wanted to point out was that a lot of times when we do these accessibility projects, whatever they might be, they're not just for people who have, disabilities. They're ease of use for many people, aging population, same thing. These are great for us to do. So I'm really happy we've been able to do what we've done, and that we've got a plan to do more. I think this is just a great forward movement.
Councillor Sekaspina.
Thank you, Stacy, for everything you do. As someone who uses accessibility stuff, I really appreciate it. I have a question though, that we have some accessible swings in our different parks for our children. And I know that the Civitan Club in Almont is putting together a playground that's totally accessible. Now, who will we speak to getting more accessibility in our parks? Would it be you or would it be Parks and Recs?
That would be the Recreation Department.
Deputy Mayor Tennant?
So just by coincidence, I happen to be the council rep on both the accessibility committee and the rec committee right now, which means a lot of those conversations are actually happening at the same time. So one of the big discussions we're having right now, and we've had it in both committees, is the surface is a significant discussion. What we've been working with the cedar chips, which are compliant, but are not necessarily everybody's favorite thing. And so we've been discussing back and forth, what sacrifices we might want to make if we wanted to use some of our budgets for the rubberized park surfaces. And it's expensive. And so it's sort of a trade-off between that and maybe park equipment or, but either way, both those committees are sort of going to be active in those conversations for now.
There's one other point that I would like to make, and that is that accessibility is often, and I've learned this through this whole process, is that it's often misunderstood. And two things that we're doing are going to change that. One is the increased frequency in training. And one of the triggers for having to redo the training is having the new policies come forward and the multi-year accessibility plan. So I just finished part of the training, and it really does help you to understand what exactly encompasses accessibility. The other thing is that as people who maybe don't have accessibility needs so often, it's easy to forget that there can be issues. And so by requesting that reports identify where there could be an accessibility implication or impact within reports to council, that will help to bring accessibility forward in terms of what people are considering. I mean, it's easy to be like, what are the financial implications? But sometimes it can be difficult to remember what are the accessible implications. And by bringing that forward, I think that we will better be able to achieve universal design and universal and just provide a more accommodating community.
Any other questions or discussions for Stacy? See none, so I will read the suggested motion. The council approve the 2025 to 2020 to 2030 multi-year accessibility plan, and that the final 2025 to 2030 multi-year accessibility plan be posted on the town's website in an accessible format. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Sekaspina, seconded by Deputy Mayor Tennant. All in favor? Opposed? See none, and that motion is carried. Thanks, Stacy. And our final report of the evening is the 2026 OPP Detachment Board Budget, Communication 136129, and this report will be given to us this evening by Diane Smithson, our CAO.
So thank you. So earlier this year, the OPP Detachment Board administration was taken over by the County of Lanark. Prior to that, it was being done through the town of Carleton Place. And as part of that, they hired a full-time coordinator. And so this is their first budget that they're presenting. And at this time, they're asking whether we want the OPP Detachment Board budget to be included within the county levy. And also that if there are any funds remaining at the end of 2025, that they be placed in a reserve and be available for future use. And I would say yes to both. The whole purpose of going up to a county-wide level is to make it easier. It doesn't make sense that it's being done at the county levy and then at the county level, that they then have to invoice us. We have to write them a check. I mean, the whole point of this is to make it more efficient and effective. So it does make sense. It's included in the county levy. Our share of that, in 2025, I was able to give you a context that our levy amount was about $20,000. So that would have been included. There would have been an allocation included in our, actually, no, not in our budget, in the county budget. We don't have to do that anywhere. That's right. So anyway, that's what our amount would have been allocated to Carleton Place for 2025. So we paid our share into the county when we transferred all the funds that we had already collected from the various municipalities, that all went to the county. This makes a lot of sense, and I hope that you strongly support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Any discussions or questions on this? I see none, so I will read the suggested motion. The suggested motion is that the council for the town of Carleton Place approve the draft 2026 Lanark County OPP Detachment Board budget, and the council approve the establishment of a surplus reserve for the Lanark County OPP Detachment Board, where the 2025 surplus will be placed at end of year, and the council approved the inclusion of the Lanark County OPP Detachment Board for 2026 and in future years in the county levy, with the detachment board budget managed as a separate fund in the county financial system. Can I get a mover and seconder on that? Moved by Councillor Comley, second by Councillor Kavanaugh. All in favor? Opposed? None. That motion is carried. Next, Diane. New and other business, we have none this evening. Committee, board, and external organization updates. We have 3: Parks and Recreation Committee from October the 6th, Urban Forest River Corridor Committee from October 22nd, and Environmental Advisory Committee from November 3rd. Suggested motion is the following minutes be received. Moved by Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Tennant. All in favor? Opposed, see none, and that motion is carried. Information listings, we have 8 of them on this evening. If you're interested, you can actually view the information listings on the town website, carletonplace.ca, as opposed to going through these all this evening. As I say, there are 8 of them. The suggested motion is that the information listing dated November 25th, 2025 be received. Moved by Councillor Comley, second by Councillor Kavanaugh. Any discussions? See none. All in favor? Opposed? None. And that motion is carried. And wow, speeding right along, we are on to adjournment. The suggested motion is that the meeting be adjourned at 6:59 p.m. Moved by Councillor Atkinson, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you very much, and we will see you at our next council meeting on December the 9th. Oh yeah, we'll see you at the parade.